Hello, and before we start looking at the course content, it's always good to think about what does the exam look like that I'm going to have to sit in May next year. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to walk through the 2019 Advanced Higher paper, just explain a little bit about what you're going to have to do in that final exam, so we're clear from the start what the end product we're trying to do is. Now, as you can see straight away, it's a 3-hour exam. Okay, there is no breaks in between. It's not like higher where you have a paper 1 and a paper 2 and there's a break in the middle. For advanced higher, it's all in one paper, one sitting. If you have additional arrangement, then it will be 3 hours 45. Now, scrolling down, you'll also see there are 3 sections which are done across Scotland. However, we do section 2, which is all about law and order and also the research methods that everyone else in Scotland does. You will see part A says attempt 2 questions, whereas part B attempt both questions. And we'll look at that in a second. Now, as always, make sure you write down the answer and the question number that you're doing, and also use blue or black ink, no pencil. That includes for all work, I'm afraid, at Advanced Higher. Pencil is a no-no. So let's go all the way down to section 2 and see what it looks like. Now, looking at it, you can see straight away there are 3 essay questions there. They are all worth 30 marks, and it says attempt 2 questions for 60 marks. Now, we will be doing question 7, understanding criminal behaviour. In other words, basically, why do people commit crime, and also what is the impact of that crime. So that's all about understanding criminal behaviour. And the second section we do is question 8, which is responses by society to crime. So that's looking at prisons, whether they work or not, alternatives to prison, policing and policies and things. The one we don't do is question 6. We don't touch the court system, we don't talk about the justice system or anything else. So when you come to this section, do not do question 6, okay? Even if you think, well, that question's quite easy, we don't do question 6. We do question 7 and question 8. Now, they're both worth 30 marks, so the expectation is they will take you around 1 hour to write your answer. Scrolling down, you can see here, it says attempt both questions. The first question here, question 9, says, you are researching the motivation of white-collar crimes. To what extent would case studies approach be the best method for investigating this issue? So what it gives you is it gives you a scenario where you're going to put in your knowledge of your research methods into whatever it is. So sometimes it could talk about rising drug crime in cities. This one here is talking about white-collar crime and case studies. And it says in your answer you should make reference to relevant examples and include reference to an alternative method in addition to case studies. So for this one, they're looking for at least 2 different research methods. So you're going to talk about case studies. That means you actually give examples of studies about white-collar criminals and where they've done crimes and why they did them. But you're also going to bring in other ways of researching that. You might say, well, maybe I thought maybe surveys would be better, or maybe focus groups. And you'd argue the strengths and weaknesses of both, and then say which one is the best of all to get you 15 marks. But when we're looking at essays and research methods, we'll go into a lot more detail about that. Then question 10 is, to what extent can source be considered trustworthy? Now, this is kind of like the reliability question, but it's really a lot more. And history will really help with this if you've done it as well. But don't worry if you haven't, because we will explain how to get 15 out of 15 on this. And the question is simply, to what extent can source be considered trustworthy? You have to say where it's coming from, so you're looking at things like dates, which is quite old to be honest now. It's like 16 years old. You can say, who's it by? It's by the Scottish Government. What does it actually talk about? It talks about focus groups, Strathclyde, Fife and everything else. And it talks about down here, interviews, which genders and everything they were. So you're going to talk about why they're good, why they're bad. Does it have a link? You can actually go and search it. But you're also going to talk about all the things that are missing and why it's not a good source. And unfortunately, sometimes, if you had been doing this online, you'd been able to click on the link and see, well, actually, you know what? That page doesn't exist anymore. But you would expect that anyway. However, that's great in the digital age, but back then, not necessarily so much. And that's it, basically. You will see, goes on to section 3, that's it. So each of these 15 mark questions, they will expect you to take around about half an hour to do. Doesn't sound too bad, but we will explain how to do all of it as we go into the course. Thank you.